It's beautiful Highway 12 and Red Canyon that greets the peloton in Stage 2 of the Tour of Utah. They'll travel through some of the most spectacular scenery in the country. Moreno Hovland wears yellow. The question is, can he defend here in Stage 2? We'll find out next. Stage 1 of the Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah comes down to an all-out test of speed. And will Hovland have enough to hold off? He does. The Dutchman Moreno Hovland wears yellow as the peloton leaves from Panguitch today. Stage 2 is the longest stage of the week through some of the world's most spectacular terrain. The climbers will be sorely tested, but don't rule out another Mad Dash 2014. Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah rolls on. Stage 2 of the 2014 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah is presented by Ion Cameras. Shoot in HD and share in real time. The beautiful hamlet of Torrey, Utah, where this race will finish in about 2 hours from now as we welcome you into our Subaru studio. Steve Brown along with Todd Gogulski. And Todd, I don't know how they're going to surpass last finish of Stage 1, but today's finish is shaping up as one of those where almost anybody else in the field could get a win.
Yeah, this race has started out incredibly fast today, but they have the climb up Boulder Mountain right at the end of the race. In the last hour and a half, they will be on that climb. So I think we're going to have a smaller group than yesterday, but still a reasonable size group, 30, 40, maybe even 70 riders.
Well, let's take you back to yesterday, downtown Cedar City. Moreno Hovland's winning ride. It was a team effort as he crossed the finish line first.
And here he is about 500 meters from the finish. He still had two teammates in front of him. They're keeping him in position, but out of the wind, saving energy for him. Coming into that final corner, this is about 300 meters to go. Still one teammate in front of him who continues up Main Street into the headwind, slightly uphill, and then swings off. Hovland then turns it on. Polini on his wheel, the Italian, tries to come around, cannot do it. Then the man in third position. He goes, Yuri Kocian, the Slovenian on the Smart Stop team, into second, but nobody was close to Hovland getting the win and the yellow jersey on the first day.
So Hovland will wear yellow and get the first kisses of the 2014 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah. So let's take a look at the Stage 1 standings then. Hovland obviously the winner and wearing yellow.
And these differences here are really based on the time bonuses at the finish of the race. So Kocian gets second place, so he's 4 seconds down. Polini in third, and then two Americans yesterday, fourth and fifth, Young and Reinen. Great sprint by them. And the big notable names, Cadel Evans, 10 seconds off of the lead, but notice that he got 5 seconds advantage over all these other favorites. Chris Horner, Tom Danielson, Wilco Kelderman, and Ivan Basso. There was a split at the end of the course yesterday, right in the closing meters, 5-second gap. So those guys all lost 5 valuable seconds to Cadel.
Where they're headed today, 10, 15, 20 seconds may not mean much because it's a true test on the longest stage of the tour.
This is a brutal day, almost 131 miles. The guys have already been over the first 3 KOMs of the day. Look at the altitude, 7,700 feet, 7,500 feet. But now they're on Boulder Mountain, and Boulder Mountain is going to be the final sort out on the way up to 9,600 feet. 14.5 mile climb, and from there to the finish line, about 24 miles for guys to catch back up into town.
And earlier today, they started in downtown Panguitch, and they had a long way to go, Todd Gogulski, but it was kind of a sedate start. Things getting started pretty easily. They had a chance to visit. There's our yellow jersey, Hovland, talking to Matthew Boucher, and they get out of town. They cross the river, and they are heading up towards the turn to Highway 12 and Red Canyon here, and this is what would greet them to start things. They probably got a chance to enjoy it while they were fresh, and then, of course, what's become tradition. They're greeted by the Cowboys on horseback. Well, you can look at the difference in the terrain too, Todd. You saw the red, you saw the pastoral green. This is cattle country after all. You're out here in the west, and then of course you get the change, and we get to the first King of the Mountain, and off the top you see it's going to be Roscoff, Joey Roscoff, who decides to take the Red Canyon King of the Mountain, and he's going to cross the top and win that first one. And just to prove that he is serious, you see he's followed by Cher, but then the second one is the Grand Staircase, and again, same cast of characters.
Well, that's the thing. Roscoff here wanting to do what his teammate Robin Carpenter did yesterday for the Hincapie team. And yesterday it was Robin Carpenter getting the maximum points in every climb. And today, earlier, it was Joey Roscoff. So he is definitely chasing those mountains points.
And then we had the mishap. It's not the Tour de France, but some Optum team riders went down here, and you saw that they're all getting back up, but it took a little while to get them going again. It's not a crash-free race. This is our first real mishap so far of the Tour, and then they hit the Smith's feed zone and the Musette bags that they pick up.
Well, I'll tell you, on a day like today at 130 miles, you gotta have fuel, and in those Musette bags, they'll have a couple of bottles and a bunch of food.
And the Hogsback, of course, one of the real tests and one of the truly spectacle looks, and it's the Hogsback King of the Mountain as well. And this one looks like it's not going to be contested. The little gamesmanship there by Michael Schar.
Yeah, so Michael there just opting to not use a lot of body language and getting that KOM. And after that last KOM, he broke away there with Roscoff and got rid of the other three guys that were in the break. So now we're down to 2. We started out with 6 men in the breakaway. The Brazilian Ramiro Rincon dropped off first, and then we had 5 for a long time until that last King of the Mountain sprint.
And I beg your pardon, Michael Cher. I told Michael I would get his name right this year, and I think I'm 1 and 2. So it'll come back before the 7 days. But Roscoff and Cher out in the front here, and you know, it's been an interesting stage so far because of what's been going on at the front of the peloton. Who was going to try and reel in this early break? And it looked like for a while that it was going to have to be done by Garmin Sharp, and then they fell off the front, and now Belkin may be at the front of the peloton, but it's some gamesmanship. We saw it from Cher a moment ago on the King of the Mountain, sitting down and making it look like it wouldn't be contested. This is the profile of the race, and as you can see, the gray is where they've been, the yellow is what they still have ahead, the climb up Boulder Mountain, and then the descent here into Torrey.
It's a pretty tough climb. It's got some rough asphalt in places, and as you were just talking about, different teams have been on the front of the peloton at different times of the day. This is the peloton, and early in the race, when the 6 guys first went up the road, Belkin, with the winner and the leader from yesterday, Moreno Hoflin, they decided not to put their team on the front and try and control the breakaway. The gap went up to almost 7 minutes, and then the entire Garmin Sharp team came to the front with a little bit of help from Belkin and started bringing it back. So there have been a lot of changes on the front of the peloton.
3 minutes now is the margin between the peloton and the leaders, and you're looking live at the racing here. Just 2 riders out in the front right now, Cher and of course Roscoff, and then there's a gap with the chase group, and then of course the main peloton. It looks like they're not doing much right here, but of course they're making that ascent up Boulder Mountain. Still a lot of racing to go before they finish here in Torrey.
Yeah, it's very deceptive when the guys are climbing. Oh, Roscoff has come unhitched from Cher. Cher will see his share of the front from the rest of the way here. Now he's going to have to go on his own with no help. He's a very good climber. He just came back from the Tour de France where he helped his teammate, American TJ Van Garderen, to 5th overall.
And Michael Cher is the Swiss riding for Team BMC. You see their telltale red with black. The 2013 Swiss road champion, no stranger, obviously, to big-time professional cycling. But Michael Cher is going it alone right now, out in front as he makes that climb up Boulder Mountain.
And, Steve, I have a few updates of abandoned riders. Novo Nordisk rider Ben Dilley abandoned just recently, and a little bit earlier, 2 of the Brazilian riders, Andre Almeida as well as Alexandre Marinelli, also abandoned on this day. So some of our first abandons of the race. We started with 122 riders today. Michael Cher, notice the cuff on his right sleeve if you get a look at it. That's the, he's been a national champion, so he's got the Swiss there. He's also been multiple times a national champion in the time trial. He's won it as an under 23 years of age rider in 2005, 2006, as well as last year. So he's a decorated rider. He's a really good team helper, but he can win races.
And he's out front all alone right now on the climb up Boulder Mountain. More live racing from the 2014 Tour of Utah. Stage 2 comes your way next. The 2014 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah is brought to you by the Utah Office of Tourism, Life Elevated, Zions Bank, we haven't forgotten who keeps us in business, University of Utah Healthcare, your choice, our experts, and by Washakie Renewable Energy, securing a greener tomorrow. Panguitch, Utah is part of the National Historic District and county seat of beautiful Garfield County. Surrounded by scenic wonders, Panguitch is world-renowned as both a destination and starting point for great outdoor adventures. Panguitch's rich pioneer heritage is noticeable in downtown, where the look and feel of the Old West is prevalent. Moderate summer temperatures, abundant activities, and diverse scenic beauty provide something for everyone in this unique town. And of course, that was our starting point earlier today. Now you're looking live at our leader, and that's Michael Scher from Team BMC, all alone in front as he is, well, widened the gap a little bit, Todd, while we were away between Joey Roscoff. And you get a look at this from the air, but Panguitch to Torrey, 130.7 miles. A lot can happen in the peloton over 130 miles, and we're hearing there's some drama there because that is the end of the peloton, and that is our yellow jersey leader, obviously. That's Hofland, Moreno Hofland, who won yesterday but has come detached, and now he's calling his team car up there.
Oh,
he
boy.
spoke with our Craig Hummer before the start of today's race.
So Moreno, a lot of people, when they win their first yellow jersey, afterwards they sleep in it. What did you do with yours last night?
Mine was next to my bed, so I could watch it all night.
Who was your first phone call when you got a chance to celebrate with your family and friends?
Oh, my mom and dad, of course. I heard they were sleeping, and they woke up in the middle of the night to check on me, and then they called me when they saw I won. So
Yesterday, you yourself said there was no secret. Your team and you yourself had the target on your back. Do you think today is going to be more of the same because you are known to be able to get over the climbs?
I'm going to try again today, but I don't want to waste a lot of energy because tomorrow is another sprint stage. So I have to look how I feel, and if I feel really good, I go for the mountain and stay on it, and otherwise I try to relax a little bit and save energy for tomorrow.
We talked a little bit yesterday after your win about being at altitude and being prepared for this sort of race. As a racer, and as you specifically, what do you have to do to know you're in control on a hard climb or in a hard effort?
If you're here like for 2 weeks, then you get used to the altitude and to the heat, of course. And I think the 2 weeks were perfect to get used to it here.
In terms of your competition, guys that might not only want that yellow jersey that's on your back, but also want the stage win today, what do you think should be their idea or their plan to win?
Today, I don't think our team is not going to control the whole race anymore because we have already one stage win. And we think it's now on the other teams to ride and to drop me, but we see if it happens.
All right, good luck with your time in the jersey.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
And Todd, we were a little concerned that he's so far back in the peloton, but you saw the smile and the thumbs up during that interview. I think he's doing exactly what he planned on, and he mentioned, here's the look at the thumbs up. He gives us the big smile over here and says, yeah, I'm fine. It's what he talked to Craig about, and that is, see how I feel today. Don't want to expend too much energy. Tomorrow's a sprint stage. I'll save myself for that. I'll just hang in there. But maybe not quite this far back, but he does look like he's doing just fine.
Well, you got to be realistic. If you're a sprinter and you're not a climber and you got a climb that goes up to 9,500 feet and the other guys are going to try and get rid of you, you're probably going to get knocked out of the back of the bunch. You're going to get your ticket punched. And so he was realistic about that. You have to pick your battles as a bike racer. If you're good in the flats, take advantage of those days. If you're good in the mountains, take advantage of those days. And that's what bike racing is all about.
Now, I've made the Boulder Mountain climb many times in an automobile going fishing. It's some of the best in the world. But this is a look at what they face. 14.5 miles with an average grade of 4.5%. The max goes to 8. They get to, as you mentioned, 9,600 feet. So you pick up 3,300 feet in that 14.5 miles, and that leaves them 23.7 to the finish once they get to the top, and some recovery time before they come down here into Torrey.
And really, the story of today is how much is this peloton going to detonate on the climb chasing Michael Scher, and then how many fast guys are going to be able to catch back on the descent. And so when I talked with Mike Tamayo from United Healthcare, I said, look, do you think you can get rid of Moreno Hofland? Because you've got guys that can sprint like Kiel Reinen, who was 5th in this stage last year, who can climb pretty well. And he said, absolutely, we are hoping to get rid of Hofland, and we are hoping that Kiel can get a stage win. Same thing with Smart Stop. Talk with Gord Fraser of that team. They were 2nd yesterday with Yuri Kotzian, and they also have 2 other really fast guys, including Travis McCabe, who climbs pretty well, and they were hoping that Moreno Hofland would get dropped. So it's working out for them, and it's kind of what Hofland expected today.
Scher continues to set the pace as we take you to break here during stage 2 of the 2014 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah. Just some of the scenery the riders have passed today. There's a look at the limestone as you go up Highway 12. We'll return with more racing and more scenery right after this.
Matej, just talk a little bit about that descent yesterday. I think you surprised not only some fans, but a lot of the riders in the group as you were able to extend your lead.
Yeah, I actually didn't want to break away. I just went on the front, and after a minute I looked back and nobody was there, so I tried to bridge over to the breakaway, and we tried to stay away, but it didn't work out, but we at least tried.
Does fear ever enter your mind? Do you ever think about the consequences when you're going that fast?
Yeah, but it's the same dangerous whereas you go 120 kilometers an hour or 110, so it doesn't make a huge difference. If you crash, it's not good.
Ion Camera is proud to be the official POV camera of the Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah. Ion cameras shoot in HD and share in real time. Wow. You want to know what it looks like off one of those tour bikes? You got a great look from our Ion camera as we look back at the peloton. But Todd, you know, he talked about the difference between 120 and 110 kilometers an hour. If you crash, you're in bad shape either way.
Yeah, I mean, 100 kilometers an hour is 62 miles an hour. So 110 is add another 6 to that, 68 miles an hour, 68 or over 70. Who cares? You're in bad shape, man. There's not a lot of protection. Lycra does not protect your skin against asphalt.
Well, nobody's doing that today. You don't see any 100 kilometer an hour pace here. Here's a look at Michael Scher, who, boy, I'll tell you, he's out there all by himself. The question is he going to get a chance to enjoy the view? Because he's certainly aware of what southern Utah looks like when you get a chance to take a look at it.
It was very beautiful last year. We had the first stages in the southern part of Utah. And we had the first stage we won with our teammate Greg van Avermaet, so he was in yellow. And then the whole team was chasing the second stage in front. We chased the breakaway, and like that you can enjoy the landscape much better because you're in front of the peloton. You don't have anybody who takes the view. And we were really impressed by all these mountain formations and the downhills and the switchbacks, and it was just amazing.
And there's nobody out there in front to block his view today. And this is the view he would get from the helicopter, but he is looking at the panorama with no one in front of him right now except the support vehicles.
I hate to say it, but he just is suffering so much right now, and he's thinking he's got 3.5-minute advantage on the peloton. He is so focused on trying to stay away and win this, he's not going to be able to enjoy the sights. And it's a real shame, but I totally get it.
There you look at the splits. Chase Rider is 50 seconds behind him. The peloton is 3 minutes 40 seconds and 3:55. There are 6 riders off the back, and we believe that Hofland is one of those. We got to look at him earlier. He really is just enjoying the scenery at this point in time.
And the question really is, how much is this peloton going to ramp it up here to make it so that Hofland cannot get back up on the descent, because there are a lot of guys in this group here that do not want to see Hofland here. Looking at these riders, we've got two Cannondale men on the left, in the green, we've got a Garmin Sharp rider out of the saddle. Maybe Tommy D, it looks a little bit like his style. That's Carter Jones in the orange helmet for Optum. So these are all guys that are just riding close to the front, trying to stay out of trouble and keep an eye on things.
You've also got the BMC guys, of course, Michael Scher's teammates there. They're going to keep a close eye on what's going on in the peloton as well, because their rider is out front.
Yeah, they basically want to do everything they can to just sort of lessen the intensity of the group. Try and make it a little bit jovial out there. They're going to try and get the other guys to look at the scenery and talk to them about things. And sometimes that'll make a difference.
We will continue our live coverage here. That's a look at Michael Scher again off the top. You said he's hurting. It looks like he's got a pretty good cadence going, though, right now. You get into that zone, I assume, Todd.
And he's looking around.
Yeah,
I just saw him take a look.
Well, he said he appreciated the scenery, and he's proving to be the man of his word there. But he's got a long way to go still. And, of course, that descent to come back down here into Torrey, where the crowd is building on Center Street, Torrey, which is basically the highway as it comes right through town. And we'll return with more racing. There's a look at the peloton. Can they catch him, or can Scher hold them off? Let's take a look at the 7 leader jerseys in the 2014 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah. We know who wears yellow, Todd.
That certainly is Moreno Hofland, the race leader. He's also the best sprinter for the Utah Sports Commission. King of the Mountains is the Hincapie rider Robin Carpenter out of the United States. Most aggressive, Matej Mohoric, who went on the descent yesterday and bridged across the big gap. And that's Vivint. Subaru. Best best young rider is Rick Zabel. I always think of him as a sprinter, but it was a sprint finish yesterday. And this is a very interesting one. The America First Credit Union fan favorite yesterday was Tyler Wren, and that's a voting for the public jersey.
Yeah, which a reminder, you can vote for that too, as we look at the helicopter coverage and we see our leader is out there, but someone has jumped from the peloton now, and it's a team that we haven't talked a lot about, a rider, Cook, out of James Hagen-Berman.
Yeah, so Matt Cook is a Boulder, Colorado resident. He's really a pure climber, and he is known for riding on the mountains. That's a strong suit. The pure climbers tend to be small build, so they have a lot of power per weight. And he's not super high up. You can see he lost 15 seconds yesterday, but he was just in the peloton. And a day like today suits him. Any summit finish day suits him. He also has 2 really good climbers that are teammates back in the group. And one of them is Daniel Jaramillo, and that's the Colombian. And he's got a Costa Rican teammate, Gregory Brenes. So this team has 3 really good climbers that are a little bit under the radar that could make some upsets in some of these stages.
You're looking at the differences now. The peloton at 4 minutes and 10 seconds, but Scher, the leader, is going to be tested not only with them trying to reel him in, but obviously with Cook going out now saying, hey, I'd like to be part of this equation as well.
And what ends up happening is it actually hurts Scher's chances when Cook goes off the front, because then other guys in the bunch back there, they start getting a little excited. They think maybe they can bridge across, or maybe they have to chase down Cook. So it hurts Michael Scher's chances. Here's one of the flatter spots here, and Scher has really got it going on. He is a minute and a half of Joey Rosskopf, who he dropped earlier.
A look at the King of the Mountain standings. Robin Carpenter with 14 points. Joey Rosskopf with 13 because of his performance today. And then you get Phelan and Scher, obviously, with the 11. So these are current with our King of the Mountain standings.
And if Scher goes over the top of this climb first, it's a Category 1. He'll get 10 points. He'll catapult himself into the lead. If they catch him before the top, which does not look very likely to me, then there will be not much change in those mountain points here at the top of this climb.
There's a look at Matt Cook. He has left the peloton a little bit in his dust. 3:45 now, and you see the difference then between that and 4:10. So you've got about a 25-second difference between the peloton and Matt Cook, who just went off the front of the peloton a few minutes ago. But for Scher, He is going to be tested, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. This is a guy who's been out front since the initial breakaway. They had 5 or 6 guys on the front, and then it became he and Roscoff. Roscoff has dropped back, and now you've got Cook in pursuit here. So a lot of racing again still to go with 26.3 miles. And boy, that is the face of anguish, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. Matt Cook, they call him Cookie. Great guy. Second on the Mogollon stage earlier this year, a big summit finish at the Tour of the Gila in southern New Mexico at altitude. His teammates, the other 2 I just mentioned, Jaramillo and Brenes, took first and third. So their team went 1, 2, 3 on that summit finish day. That's why I'm talking about these guys as climbers that are a little bit under the radar. It's a 3rd division team, but they are here to make some waves, and Cookie's making some waves right now.
We'll take the break. We'll be back with more. Today's stage runs near Bryce Canyon National Park, Capitol Reef National Park, and of course the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument, all part of stage 2 of the Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah. Well, look at the huge clouds building here in the afternoon so far. The rain has stayed away, and we've had perfect cycling weather, cooler temperatures than normal for this longest of stages here. And there's a look at our leader, Michael Scher, all alone as he is about to summit the King of the Mountain climb on the top of Boulder Mountain. A look at where he started the day, 15 seconds back. But he is all alone out front right now, trying to maintain that cadence, get himself over the top, and then gather for the descent to come down into Torrey.
And a lot of fresh new asphalt on the climb that wasn't there last year. Matt Cook here coming off of the front of the peloton with all the favorites and trying to make his way up there. And I'll tell you what, he looks like he's got some real speed right now as he is flying up the mountain.
There's the peloton, still kind of bunched in there and hoping maybe that they can reel in those folks off the front. But they've got 38.7 kilometers to go. And of course, once they crest, and you'll see in just a moment that Scher is going to crest. There's 200 meters to the top.
All right, so from my calculations, if Joey Roscoff, who was with him, stays away for second, then Roscoff will take over the KOM jersey. But we haven't seen Roscoff for a while, so last time I heard he was a minute 30 behind Scher. But it's 10 points for the first man over, and then 9 for the second, and 7 for the third. So he's, right now, he takes over the lead, and we'll just see where Joey is.
So 1.5 officially, according to Race Radio, is where Roscoff is. But there's a look at him crossing the KOM. And of course, remember, we showed you earlier in the race that he and Roscoff were going for a KOM, and Roscoff didn't think, I don't believe, that Scher was going to contest it because he stayed in the saddle, and yet he started grinding and managed to win that KOM as well. Kind of a little bit of gamesmanship, a little chess, if you will, and now it is Scher all by himself out front. Get a look at the car in front of him. That's the only, by the way, that's the only way that the view is spoiled out front for this man who says he enjoys the sights of southern Utah. All he's got to look at that will blur that view at all is the lead car and then the moto out front. And that's not a bad view for a racer. If you're going to see that view, it means you're on the front, and that's right where you want to be.
So I just want to show you something here, Steve, as just moments ago Michael Scher went across the cattle guard. He doesn't want to ride over the rough part. He picks the 1.5-inch wide metal strip and says, I'll go ahead and ride over that.
He almost got a dead center. That's pretty good.
That's how good these guys are on their bike. So he now has 21 points in the mountains classification. Joey Roscoff has 13, but Roscoff looks like he's going to pick up another 9, and he will move into the lead of the mountains classification over the top of the final climb of the day.
You know, I think some of these views surprise a lot of people because they consider southern Utah nothing but red rock country. But as we've seen today, it changes so dramatically. You get these pinyon pine forests and bristlecone pine forests, and then you'll get the pastoral graze for the cattle that graze here. It is a completely different landscape from moment to moment, and all of it now being enjoyed by our leader, Michael Scher. You know, University of Utah Healthcare is the official medical provider of the 2014 Tour of Utah. So here now is the University of Utah Healthcare Minute.
Hi, I'm Dr. Travis Mack with the University of Utah Healthcare, the official medical provider of the Tour of Utah. Part of our job is to ensure that you have a smooth ride before, during, and after the big race. One of the most important things that you can do is to ensure your bike is properly fitted to your body. This can prevent many of the injuries that we see. Recovery is also a critical part of cycling. Be sure to refuel right away. Some good post-ride fuel includes a high-protein meal and a snack like a smoothie. Next, hydrate. You should drink to satisfy your thirst and keep drinking until you've replaced all of the body weight that you've lost. An active recovery is key. The day after a hard ride, do something active, such as light exercise. This will help your muscles recover. Lastly, go out and get a massage. It'll help delay those stiff and sore muscles the next day. I'm Dr. Travis Mack with your University of Utah Healthcare Minute.
Yeah, Todd and I are still looking for our masseuse here in the studio. University of Utah Healthcare with the hospital and 10 community clinics. There's definitely one close to you, your choice, and our experts. I must have missed the masseuse booth. We came in today, Todd. I don't know about you.
We got flicked on that one.
There's a look at Michael Scher, our leader, as he continues to head for home now. And he has crossed the King of the Mountain, the summit at Boulder Mountain. He will head towards Torrey, and he's signaling, as you see, for hydration right there. Wants to take the drink, so he must have paid attention to the Healthcare Minute, and we'll return with more racing right after this. Watch the 2014 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah live from start to finish on Tour Tracker at tourofutah.com, or download the Tour Tracker mobile app and watch the race from your mobile device. Well, it was Scher who went over the top and Roscoff chasing him, and we look at where they are. They just crested Boulder Mountain, and they are on the downhill side for the most part. Couple of little uphill glitches there that they'll have to deal with, but for the most part they'll be losing elevation as they come into Torrey. Now Roscoff crossed the second, but Scher is still in the lead. Now I want you to look at the difference in what's going on here. There's Michael Scher, and he is on the pedals, but he is sitting up. And the last we saw of Roscoff, he was in a full aerodynamic tuck. And of course, without radios, Todd, that compounds the issue a little bit, doesn't it, knowing what the folks behind you are doing. This is a race that does not have radios in the helmets. Some races, most notably the Grand Tour events in Europe, too.
Only the events on the World Tour calendar, I believe it's 28 events this year, are the riders allowed to use the radios with the contact with their teammates and their directors in the car. Every other race, they're on their own. So they have to develop their spidey sense, if you will, and decide when to do what, just through looking around and assessing how they feel and looking at the competition. It looks like Joey Roscoff is attacking this descent a little bit harder than Michael Scher has been, but it is deceiving because they're on it, they're a minute and 30 seconds apart. So sometimes one guy's on more of a downhill and another guy's on a flatter section, and so you can't quite tell really when you see them. But Roscoff, they're clearly both descending here. Scher seems to be taking it a bit easier. Now, he crossed the summit of the climb, Boulder Mountain, with a 4-minute and 25-second lead. And to me, with 23.6 miles to go from there to the finish, there's a real chance he can hang on for the win. And I think what's deceiving me here is his height. He's 6 foot 5 inches tall. He cannot make himself small. He cannot turn into a cannonball on the descent. The guy is one of the tallest bike racers in the professional peloton, so he looks like he's sitting up, even though he's really getting into it here.
So you watch him go, and the question, of course, is, can Roscoff catch him? Todd, who would you think is the most has the most likelihood of catching him? The peloton reeling him in, or Roscoff catching him at least on the descent?
That's a total roll of the dice. It could go either way. I think he might have it.
All right, we'll find out as our racing continues. Stage 2 of the Tour of Utah, the longest stage of the week, continues.
Time now to take a look at the state of sport presented by the Utah Sports Commission. The landscape that is Utah is diverse, so pick your pleasure. We can start at the top, the greatest snow on earth. Now that's a phrase you can get pretty comfortable with. If the sport has anything to do with snow, it does very well on this snow. In Moab, the adventure spills over the Red Rocks with an endless stream of thrilling, world-class mountain biking competition. The Red Bull Rampage demonstrates just what this place can do with a sporting event. Energy and the best riders zipping by all those dinosaur tracks. Exciting sport matched with spectacular geography. Utah, the state of sport. Visit the UtahSportsCommission.com, a proud partner of the Tour of Utah 2014.
Well, a little more sedate type running on two wheels than what we just saw a moment ago with those mountain bikers at Moab. But I have a feeling this is going to heat up a little bit, and this peloton can't afford to let that break continue too much longer, can they?
They really can't. Michael Scher was 7th overall in this race last year, and he was 3 minutes and 11 seconds down on Tom Danielson after the last day. So he's a good climber. He's good all around. He has over 4 minutes on the peloton right now. They cannot let him keep that advantage to the line.
Well, can they really, man? We'll find out, because we're waiting here with the crowd at Torrey and the finish line, and he continues to turn it over. Michael Scher looking comfortable now, certainly a lot more than he did about 10 minutes ago as he crested that King of the Mountain over Boulder Mountain.
Yeah, but look at this right here. That's salt stains all over his shoulder. It is starting to get to him, even though it's not a hot day. And that adds up over the course of hours. You see him looking back. He doesn't look incredibly motivated to me right now. I think this man is suffering, and he's just trying to hold on.
And the man who's chasing him, just a minute and 10 seconds, Joey Rosskopf, just behind him.
And Rosskopf has been really charging on the descent. This is that bit of a climb that breaks up the descent. When you're going downhill and you're tucking and you're not really pedaling hard, and all of a sudden you hit one of these uphill sections, it feels incredibly bad in your body. Your legs just feel like they swell up like balloons and you don't have any power.
You saw Torrey in the distance. That's where they're headed. And we'll continue our coverage of Stage 2 of the 2014 Tour of Utah with Michael Scher all alone out front. Joey Rosskopf in hot pursuit. The 2014 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah is brought to you by Subaru, confidence in motion. Zions Bank, we haven't forgotten who keeps us in business. And by LHMauto.com. Click it, get it, drive it. Larry H. Miller Dealerships, driven by you. This is where it will all pay off for someone today, the finish here in Torrey, Utah. After almost 131 miles of cycling, the longest stage in this year's tour. And of course, they'll be coming off Boulder Mountain and being welcomed by the 100-year-old cottonwood trees down Main Street. Michael Scher continues to lead, but his lead is being whittled away. The chase is 1:10 behind, and 2 minutes and 45 seconds is all that separates him from the peloton. There's a look at Rosskopf. 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining in that full tuck and trying to gain every advantage possible. And he's hot on the heels of Michael Scher.
He really gets himself into a very aerodynamic position. I liken that to some guys that I used to race with, like Roy Nickman or Greg Demjen. They were like the human cannonball. Very little frontal area, as aero as possible, and just plummeting down the mountain.
At the bottom, you're seeing the updated current standings for the King of the Mountain, and Rosskopf has taken the lead from Scher by 1 point right now. It's very, very tight.
Yeah, and Rosskopf's teammate is in third place, 1 point behind Scher. So those guys are incredibly tight in that classification. Remember, that's points on all of the King of the Mountain lines.
A look at the cars ahead here. That's the view from Joey Rosskopf in second, and of course, Michael Scher does not have the luxury of being able to, with any length of time, to look over his shoulder and see just what that gap is. Still sitting in the saddle and trying to get all he can out of it as the peloton continues to close as well.
It does look a bit when we see Scher, to me, that he is really starting to fatigue, but he's holding off Rosskopf just fine, but the peloton is really starting to charge. But every one of these uphill sections late in the race like this, for a man who's been off the front for over 100 miles, you can feel these. The legs just do not feel like they did a while ago. And look at this. Roscoff has really started to close it down. Just a moment ago, we got a time check of 1:10. It certainly isn't that big anymore.
I think that Scher just took a look over his left shoulder, the inside shoulder, and you see immediately he's out of the saddle. Question is, does he have anything left? As you point out, that's a long way to go, being off the front and not having much help.
Well, we are getting a little bit of word from out on the course. I cannot verify these for certain, but it does sound like Moreno Hovland, the overall leader, has made it back into the peloton over the top of the climb. So I'd like to get a visual on that to confirm it. We've got to look in and see if we can see that yellow jersey of Moreno Hovland. He was dropped earlier. This looks like about 50 riders or so.
And he's hard to spot. You've got the lime green in there of Cannondale, among others.
I think I see him
maybe
last rider. I thought I maybe saw him last rider there. But it is very tough to see. Now he should have a green helmet as well, so maybe that is not him. That is one of the Smart Stop riders on the back. So those are Cannondale men in the back. And now Scher really getting after it. That's 6'5", being as small as he can be.
He did take that look over his shoulder and saw Roscoff coming hard charging right after him. And there's a look at Joey Roscoff compressing. You see, we got a look from the Ion camera earlier from yesterday, Mohoric, and we saw that view from the rider's perspective, but you get that chin tucked down and the slipstream from the helmet, and then just kind of the wing effect, and that's exactly what Roscoff is trying to do right now, and of course maintain that aerodynamic tuck.
And look at the wheels also. It's a very high profile rim, so that rim has shorter spokes and a higher profile rim. It's more aerodynamic. It's a little bit tough to ride if it's crosswindy, if you get gusts of wind on the descent, and it's also harder to control on the corners, but it's more aero. Michael Scher here with a lower profile rim, so not quite as aero, but easier to handle if it's windy out.
Fascinating look at the difference in technique and style, the difference in bike right now, but also the difference that 6'5" makes.
Now, Roscoff is not a small guy either. He's 6'1", but he weighs 168 pounds, almost the identical weight, but 4 inches shorter.
Joey Roscoff getting in again to that wing position.
And now we're seeing 30 seconds between these guys, so it is definitely coming back, but the peloton at 1:35.
So everybody is getting closer to our leader right now, and of course he knows about Roscoff, probably doesn't know about the situation with the peloton. They continue the descent, and we will return. There's a look at the 20-kilometer warning for our leader, Michael Scher. Can he hold on? Scenery that greets the riders as they prepare to come into Torrey, Utah for Stage 2 of the 2014 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah. Stage 2 is presented by Ion Cameras. Shoot in HD, share in real time. And there's a look at the race profile. You see where they are. You've got the leader with not much on the peloton and certainly on the chase right now. Our leader is Michael Scher. They're coming down the descent that will lead them to Torrey and the finish for this Stage 2, the longest of the stages, Todd. It was just a terrific start of this one as we welcome you into the Subaru studio. Subaru is a proud sponsor of the Tour of Utah. Subaru, confidence in motion, and confidence in motion is what we've seen for 130 miles. When they left Panguitch this morning, nobody believed it would be an easy day, and it certainly has proven that way.
Well, we had 6 guys who got off the front early, very strong riders, and so it set up a really fast pace all day. Boulder Mountain shook that 6-rider group up. One man over the top, Scher, Roscoff second over the top. Everybody else from that group has been caught, and the peloton is in hot pursuit.
Yeah, Michael Scher right now has decided that it's about time perhaps to get a little aero himself as he has been chased by Joey Rosskopf, and it looks like Rosskopf is still working hard because he's only 30 seconds behind, but that peloton at 1:35, they've narrowed that gap down from 6 minutes.
Yeah, this is really tough. It's a very long descent like this, and if you're in the peloton, if you're not on the front, you're coasting. But these guys, they're coasting for a little bit. They lose just a little bit of speed. They get back up. They pedal really hard. They coast again. It's a lot of energy.
Let's bring in the third member of our broadcast team, Craig Hummer, who has had a chance to talk with these riders before the race and then do some checking with their team directors throughout. And Craig, it seems like there's going to be many more names that we'll talk about before this one's over because of some folks who want to make a statement today.
Well, you're right, Steve. And guys, you've already talked about the yellow jersey, of course, of Hofland and what his team is doing to either keep him in there or trying to bring him back. At this point, if he's not in this group, as Todd has mentioned, he's not going to come back into this group. But the Smart Stop guys, I was able to talk to Travis McCabe. Keep in mind that their guy, Yuri Kocian, yesterday finished a close second to Hofland. Both of those guys felt today was a perfect day for them. Travis McCabe himself said that Kocian was gonna be in position for this win. McCabe was willing to also put himself up there, but if they're in this group, and I know there's been some confusion with whether or not we can see certain jerseys, but look for the Smart Stop guys to really factor in by the finish.
Well, those guys are particularly fast, and we know that from the day yesterday. The other man that, did you get a chance to talk at all with Kiel Reinen and the United Healthcare squad? I mean, I did talk with Mike Tamayo, and he said they were putting a lot of hopes on Kiel today.
Well, absolutely, and you know Kiel finished 5th. I think you've already mentioned that in this exact stage last year, Todd. And the thing of it is, it couldn't have gone any better for Belkin, right? Earlier when we saw Garmin on the front. We still don't know why Garmin put their guys on the front to help drive the early pace of the peloton, but the other sprinters' teams had to be happy. But that was exactly what we heard Hofland say that in my interview with him earlier about the fact that he wasn't going to protect his jersey today. He wanted tomorrow to be his day.
Well, and we saw it was really an infernal pace for the first few hours of this race. We had 6 guys off the front that were just drilling it, and so the entire Garmin team came to the front. When I talked with Gord Fraser of Smart Stop, he said there was going to be massive fireworks on Boulder Mountain because it was so hard all day.
Well, you had your crystal ball working, my friend, because you thought it'd be a group of around 40 guys. That's what these numbers are. And once we really do get into that final straight run, which is very interesting, I know you guys will get to it to talk about the finish, but there are some stair steps in that finish. So this is not a straight run in. It may be straight, I should say, but it definitely is not flat. There are a few bumps in that finish line.
All right, Craig Hummer, thank you very much. And, of course, we'll check with you at the finish. The question is, who will he be interviewing when that finish comes? Because right now our leader, Michael Scher, 30 seconds ahead of Rosskopf, the chase man, and a minute and a half ahead of the peloton as they grind their way in to Torrey, Utah, and the finish of stage 2. We'll be back with more live racing in just a moment. Beautiful scenery, punishing climbs, and intense drama. The 2014 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah has it all. Be part of America's toughest stage race in America's most beautiful state. Stage 3 coverage begins tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. And tomorrow, well, it's going to be a whole different ball game than from today. It will be a sprinter's race for the most part. It begins at IM Flash Technologies and winds up at Miller Motorsports Park. One of the big deals tomorrow, the inaugural Tour of Utah women's race will be coming our way. Just 1 KOM, couple of intermediate sprints, not a lot of climbing by Utah standards. Stage 3, a totally different look though, Todd. And of course that coverage begins 4 o'clock Eastern time here on FSN. But we've still got business to take care of here in stage 2 this afternoon. The question is, can Michael Scher hang in there for the final, about 4.5 miles or so before that peloton gets to him, or before Joey Rosskopf reels him in.
And Steve, he's just about to get to where his descent bottoms out, and then he's going to have this little bit of a stair-step climb back up to the finish line here in Torrey. And I remember riding this last year and thinking, if somebody's really tired like Cher is, he's been off the front, if he doesn't have anything left, this little climb coming up could be his undoing. If it were flatter, he'd have almost a certain shot at the win.
And you can see how close they are, because that's Joey Rosskopf now, about 24 seconds. And you're coming around that left-hand turn there. And then, of course, the shot into Torrey, where this crowd is waiting to cheer on the winner of Stage 2. This is a small community, and by small, I'm talking minuscule size community that swells to probably triple its population with just the tour personnel that come in here. This is a big event for Torrey, Utah. There's the chase, and then there's the group, the peloton, chasing them. So they're strung out a little bit. The question is, at 105, can the peloton close?
And notice he's got the TV motorcycle there. He's got the race support behind him. That's Joey Rosskopf. And that way, if he needs a wheel or something, he's got it. Michael Cher here has the same thing with him. And this is going to be 5K. That's 3.1 miles to go. He is really just barely hanging on to this, and Rosskopf is continuing to close it down ever so slightly. I don't think the peloton can catch him. I think this is a two-man race right now.
You heard his team director a moment ago say, you can do it. He gave him the distance and the time splits between the peloton and the chase. 25 seconds from Rosskopf and 105 from the peloton. What's your bet? Does he hang on or no?
I think he might make it at this point. I mean, he has looked like he has been suffering just unduly since he got over the top of the final climb. And you think, well, it's just a descent to the finish, but 23.6 miles, that's a long time to be by yourself in that tuck position. Your low back starts killing you. The core starts to break down a little bit when your back hurts, and then you can't generate the power through your legs.
He continues to grind away. As he can see, obviously he knows where Torrey is right now. How's that for a quick look? And that is Rosskopf in second place, and he's feeling it as well, down on the handlebars. Every crank, that lactic acid builds up in your legs. It's got to be very difficult. That 25 seconds for him is a very difficult bridge right now.
And actually, Rosskopf can see the vehicles here right behind Michael Cher, so he knows exactly what he's doing. Cher here, it's a different story. He has to think that he has to catch that rabbit out there, and he's looking back at that field about 45 seconds behind him. He's wondering if they're going to catch him as well.
Todd, what a difference in the finish here in Stage 2 than a year ago, where it basically was a reduced field sprint. 4 kilometers to go here as Michael Cher has to go up that hill. You see the rise that we were talking about, and when he crests that, for the most part, after that, it's flat or downhill. But this rise will be the ultimate test, and I'm with you. I think he makes it.
He's a multiple-time Swiss national time trial champion. He's really good at suffering, but these 23.76 miles are some of the longest miles of his career, because now Rosskopf is in 4K to go as well, and he is bearing down on the back wheel of the Swissman.
You've talked about having him off the front and by himself for so long, but as a time trialist, he is perfectly suited for that, because that's the nature of the specialty.
That's right, and what the time trialist has to do mentally is they have to suss out how far they have to go to the finish and put their red line right there where they can hold it.
Are we going to get a catch here by the peloton of Joey Rosskopf? And if that's the case, you pointed out it was a two-person race, a two-man race, and if Rosskopf gets caught, then it really is Char's to win, isn't it?
Well, it's his to lose, that's for sure. I mean, he's the one who has to hang on, and the thing is, there's a lot of fresh legs in this bunch behind. A lot of guys have been sitting in, not in the wind, and it's 1/3 easier on a flat road. The guys on the front on a downhill, they're working really hard, and the guys in the peloton are coasting. So it can be a massive energy savings. Rosskopf is caught. It's really now a question of whether or not Cher can hold on, and he doesn't have much of a gap either.
Here they come, right up the back wheel of Joey Rosskopf. 3K to go for Michael Cher, and he is just in hang-on mode. There's no question. This is purely survival mode right now.
Oh, this is going to be really tough for him, but I don't know if he's going to make it. These little uphills are bringing him back, and this field is charging now.
Roscoff just got a look, and he knows he's about to be caught by the peloton. And look at the speed difference between Roscoff and the front of the peloton. Those fresh legs. That's Lamprey up front, along with Garmin Sharp. And you've got some riders now. He has been caught, and they have got Cher in their sights. And now it's just a question of, does he run out of real estate?
3K to go for the field. That's under 2 miles. And we'll see. I don't know exactly what the gap is now to Michael Cher, but look at Lamprey on the front. Polini was second for them yesterday, or third.
There's Cher, and there is a real-time look at the gap. After 130 miles, that's what separates the first place rider from the rest of the group. And Michael Cher has to know it now.
He has got to be digging deep inside his soul right now to try and hold off this peloton. This is going to take a superhuman effort to stay in front of what looks like about 50 riders. And everybody who's got a sprinter in here, they will put their teammates on the front to chase down Cher so that they can have a crack at the win.
We're showing 25 seconds unofficially. We're hearing it's closer to 20 seconds right now. And Michael Cher is just grinding.
And look at him all over the bike back and forth, looking a little bit like Jens Vogt does. But this is not typically the way Michael Cher looks. He is trying to do everything he can to get more power out of a body that is just about kaput. That's 1.2 miles to the finish.
You see, as they come into town, they'll make that left-hand turn, and then the remaining mile or so will be straight down the middle of Center Street here in Torrey, Utah. You'll see the iconic cottonwood trees planted over 100 years ago as you come into Torrey off Boulder Highway. Here's the left-hand turn, and now he's got a little bit of an uphill climb, as you can see here, and Cher has got to hang on. Can he just get out of the saddle? Does he have enough to grind it out, or will they catch him? Lamprey in pink up front. You've got Garmin as well in the blue, and they are closing down on our leader.
And I see several of the Smart Stop riders in the light blue and the yellow. And, you know, Michael Cher, this is going to come down literally to the last 100 meters. He is running on fumes right now, and the peloton is charging hard.
And there's the 1K banner. Energy Solutions banner signals 1 kilometer to go. And a look at the gap. I think he holds it. He's going to get a lift from this crowd. That adrenaline flow he's going to get, and he sees the 1K. He knows he's almost home. He rides into the trees. As soon as he gets about another 500 meters, he's going to hear that crowd. And here come the crowd bearing down on the backside of him. And now they're up off the saddle as well, trying to reel in Michael Cher.
And that was Smart Stop attacking early. United Healthcare responding there. 1K to go. I think Cher is going to hold this off. I think the field's going to be sprinting for second. This is going to be a huge ride for Michael Cher.
You see the little bump right there. He's just going to crest it, and now he sees it. Here's the first of the cars that are parked here to welcome him home. It is going to be a photo finish. Look at the difference in speed right now. He's got 500 meters to go. 500 meters, and he has won stage 2. He's still driving with those knees. He's still in the saddle.
He's looking back just to see how much of a gap he has. I think he's going to like the look he had. He's going to think he has a shot. It looks like now United Healthcare on the front. Cher has got this. He's inside 300 meters, but they are going to close it down.
There's the smile. He knows he has it. They're trying to catch him, but they'll run out of real estate. And Michael Cher is going to claim stage 2 of the Larry H. Miller 2014 Tour of Utah. A glance over the shoulder. A final push. Can they close the gap? Not quickly enough, as the finish line is right there for Michael Cher. Off the front early, and he holds on. And you want to see the face of fatigue, folks? That's it in the dictionary.
130.7 miles, and maybe had 10 meters on him at the finish line, if that.
Biggest 10 meters maybe of his career, certainly of his rides this year, I would imagine.
Yeah, that was really close, and he just had nothing left. You could see the peloton sprinting, the punch those guys had left. He just had nothing. He couldn't even get out of the saddle to sprint. He's literally riding on guts right now. Empty tank and just trying to keep it going. Looking back, He's probably excited there. He's not laughing here, folks. This is a grimace. This is a guy who is in serious pain, and he's thinking to himself, oh, if I can only hold on for the next 300 meters.
He coasts for a moment and then decides, I'll just ease across the finish line, because it doesn't matter just how many. And right now, number 1 is the number for Michael Scher. And he is on the ground and probably happy to be off the bike in one shape or the other. There's his BMC teammates. And Michael Scher, who got off the front early in this one and basically made his own way. And we talked about it a little bit earlier. For a time trialist, they're used to being alone. He certainly was. He knew it from early on when he dropped the other chase folks, and Joey Rosskopf tried to catch him. He knew just what he was doing.
That man is burnt. I mean, just look at him.
He's saying, how many more stages do we have?
He is a shell of his former self. And, oh, look at that. Yuri Kocjan gets second. Sergei Tvetkov, another good rider, Romanian, used to be Moldovan. He changed nationalities this year. Kiel Reinen, the United Healthcare rider we were talking about. So a very well-ridden race there by Michael Scher, and the sprinters almost got the best of him. I mean, literally 2 seconds. That is so close. Look at that. Cadell Evans always up in the front. Tanner Putt,
the Park City young man.
And he was up in the top 10 yesterday as well. So really nice to see that Tanner Putt continues to factor into these bunch finishes.
So we've had 2 stages in the books, and we'll return and try and get a word with that young man. He does have a smile on his face right now. Michael Scher, the winner of stage 2. He managed to hang on. He knew he had it at about 10 yards and maybe no more. And then he celebrates, and there's your winner. Torrey is located in central Utah, about 10 miles west of Capitol Reef National Park. The city of Torrey has a colorful pioneer history dating back to the late 1800s and is named after Colonel J.L. Torrey, one of Teddy Roosevelt's Rough Riders. Torrey is best recognized by the 100-year-old cottonwood trees that canopy Highway 24 in the center of town. While in Torrey, take note of their clean air, open spaces, and outdoor activities that exceed or match anywhere in the western United States. Well, it's pretty placid right now and sedate in Torrey, but it wasn't just a few moments ago as Michael Scher tried to hold off the peloton and did so successfully to win the second stage, the longest stage of the 2014 Tour of Utah. As we welcome you back into our Subaru studio, what a finish, Todd Gogulski. You know, we talked about this. Could he hold on? He had a long time to spend time on the front, but this is a guy who grew up around cycling. His father was a professional rider. He owned a bike shop, so he's no stranger to the sport. And he's also, I think, very importantly, a time trialist, a guy who's used to being out there by himself, setting his own cadence, and it sure came in handy today.
Yeah, that time trialing, that is critical to have that in your head for a day like this, to pace yourself and get everything out of yourself to hold on to the end, which he did.
And here's a look at after he passed under the finish banner. This is what we're going to see at the end. This was when it was still very much in doubt at 500 meters.
He had a look back here, but the peloton was charging a little bit of gamesmanship behind. No team completely, fully leading it out yet. He looked back. I think that gave him a good sensation. He got out of the saddle, but he couldn't even stay out of the saddle because his legs were cracked.
And he crosses the finish line. And there's a look at your winner. Now, the guy who chased him down and actually up the one side and down the other is Joey Rosskopf, who's now with our Craig Hummer.
Well, they all put in a Herculean effort today, but Joey, it was one of those where we watched you. You were closing so fast. The peloton caught you towards the very end. Talk about, though, the climb up boulder and becoming unhitched from Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I knew the climb from last year, and we stayed together for I think the first 5 or 10 Ks flatter, and as soon as we got to the part that was steep at all, I had to do my own pace. And I mean, I was surprised I made it over before the group caught me. Luckily, I had a little kick of energy near the top, and could do a good descent.
Well, when I talked to your director, Thomas Craven, this morning, he said we were going to try to keep Robin's jersey. I just didn't know he meant that it was going to go to a different teammate. So you will have the KOM jersey for all the effort you put out today. But describe that feeling of when you have to watch a guy ride away from you because you have to stay within yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much knew that was going to happen if we got to the climb with the group. I mean, with the guys I was with, that was a strong break. And I mean, I'm lucky that it was only Shar riding away from me and not the other 4 guys. I mean, I expected it, and that's the only way I can get over a hill is to kind of do my own pace.
You've had such a good season so far, a number of different accolades around the country. Talk about what you want to specifically get, though, out of the Tour of Utah.
I mean, second place on the stage would have been nice. I don't know if I have much left in me after today for the Tour of Utah. I mean, luckily tomorrow's flatter. Maybe try to rest a little bit. And then I'm hoping Chris Butler can have a really good Powder Mountain finish. And I think my eggs are going to be in his basket for the rest of the tour, probably, just doing what I can to help him. I mean, maybe stage 5 is another good breakaway day, but we'll see.
All right, well, you've got that KOM jersey for your efforts today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, there's an honest man, and here's a look at the updated general classifications now, and we have a change in the yellow jersey after today.
That's right, the Slovenian Yuri Kocian, second place yesterday, second place again today. He becomes the leader of the Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah. Michael Scher, the man who won the day, 2 seconds back in the overall classification. Sergei Tvetkov into third, Kiel Ryan in fourth, the American, and Cadel Evans, the Australian, in fifth. You look at that. 1 American, the rest all international. Tanner Putt from Park City in fifth. Good for him, only 12 seconds down. And we go down a little bit further to some of the other big names.
But let's, speaking of big names, go to our winner today, who is with our own Craig Hummer and Michael Scher.
Well, this guy deserves to smile today. He ekes out the win, but it was 130 miles plus of effort, Michael. Just talk about what it's like to be on that downhill off of Boulder Mountain and know you just have to hang on.
It was just incredible. I had a good climb. I know I go very good in altitude. Like the higher we get, the better I get. So I had a good rhythm. And over the GPM, I got cramps. I was like, just couldn't believe. So because I had in the morning, I had to change my shoes. And then I had maybe a little different position, so I got those cramps. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I lost minute by minute in the downhill. Normally I'm a good downhiller. I'm a big guy, you know. I go fast down those hills. And then the last 2 kilometers, I look back and the bunch was just behind me. I couldn't believe it. It was like, now I just hang in there, give all I have to the line, and I was on the line and they just came all around me. It's just incredible.
It's a feeling that few racers get to have, because the old axiom is, if you don't try, you can't win the stage. Away for so much of the day, but describe looking behind you, seeing a group that you know is probably going over twice your speed, but you're doing everything you can do to hang on.
Yeah, it's always, if you never try, you never win. So like a rider like me, I'm not a sprinter. I'm not a super bad climber. I don't win those kind of races. So I have to win my races in breakaways. And today was especially hard breakaway because 210 kilometers and a lot of up and downs and a lot of wind. So it was not an easy day in the office.
I want to follow up, though, on what you just said about the shoes and about the cramping. What did you have to do specifically to work through that? Did you just hope that they'd go away?
Well, I just suffered through it. It was incredible. For a moment, I couldn't pedal anymore. That was just blocked my whole musculation. So then I got some electrolytes from the car. That helped a little bit. But at the end, you just have to suffer through.
Did you know going into today that it was a day of possibility for you? You're coming off the Tour de France. It's a very select group here at the Tour of Utah. You've already mentioned that you did acclimatize well and you felt in pretty good shape. But was this a day that was pre-planned for you to possibly go for a breakaway?
Definitely. I went to bed yesterday and I looked in the book and said, this can be my day. But the original plan was to attack over the last climb, not on kilometer 0.
Well, it's always good when a plan comes together. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, Craig, thank you very much. Fascinating insight into what happened. That's why he was not pedaling on the descent. That's why when he was calling and we saw the shot, he called for the car for something to drink. He needed electrolytes. Cramping. Todd, you ever experienced anything like that personally?
Oh, absolutely. We've all experienced that, and it was really hard to figure out what was going on because we can't talk with him during the race, and looking at him on the descent, he didn't look like there was a sense of urgency. And then finally later on, he seemed to be, tucking and going for it again. Well, that explains everything. And he said he thinks maybe it was brought on by changing his shoes, slight minuscule difference in your cleat position that hooks you into the pedal, and thousands upon thousands of revolutions all day long. That can change things.
Remember, he talked about getting electrolytes in there, and he called for water. He got water. He also got the attaboy from his team. And then here's a look at this where he's trying to get things going. There's talking about the cramps. That's probably the signal. He's got cramps right there.
Yeah, he's like trying to massage and slap his hamstring because it's cramping up, and he's descending, and he looks like he's on a club ride, and yet he's trying to win the stage. It was so weird to watch it happen, and I never quite picked up on what was going on.
He talked about the tough day at the office.
Those are tough days, but let's think about how fast they went. 10,000 feet of climbing, 130.7 miles in just over 5 hours, so over 25-mile-an-hour average. That's a fast climbing day on all those miles and all those climbs.
And now maybe it puts some perspective on the little eavesdrop we did with this team director in the car, and we'll take you back to that just late in the race. Well, a look at the scenery around Torrey, Utah, adjacent to one of the great national parks here in the state of Utah. At the end now of Stage 2 of the Tour of Utah. We tour the great state of Utah throughout the weekend. People from all over the world invited to visit one of the mighty 5 national parks. Today, we offer a peek at nearby Capitol Reef National Park, fresh in fruit and in history.
Visitors to Capitol Reef National Park find an amazing composite of beauty and history, evidence of the ancient Fremont culture, the water pocket fold, wildlife, and a pioneer settlement.
Here's our wooden bucket, and it's empty. Somebody didn't do their chores this morning. Who's responsible?
These school kids and visitors are learning about the early Mormon colony, and all around the historic home in neat rows, over 3,000 fruit and nut trees, a lasting gift planted over 100 years ago by the settlers. This lush valley, watered by the Fremont River, nourishes the orchards and gives tourists an oh-so-sweet taste of history.
And from these remarkable orchards, cherries, peaches, apples, plums, and pears, fruit all here for the picking, plus a pretty darn good lesson in history.
When I was a child, I always went with my parents to Fruita every year to pick fruit, and then my mother would spend a month canning peaches and apples and cherries.
Real fruit, historic orchards, the experience of a lifetime, a chance to touch the past and savor the moment in a beautiful place. Stunning cliffs and canyons, inviting trails and backcountry. Endless adventure. For Tour of Utah, I'm James Nelson in Capitol Reef National Park.
Well, and there's the yellow jersey coming in, or the gentleman that wore it to begin the day, Moreno Hofland, the Dutch rider, and he will just finish now. And Todd, you talked to me a little bit off camera about picking your battles. He knew he wasn't a climber. He's saving for tomorrow. He, I guess, could have really exhausted himself today and still finished way behind and then been shot for tomorrow and the rest of the week.
That's right. You got to go with what you're good at because the better climbers are so much better than him. He never would have made it today.
And so now the podium today.
And this is going to be first overall And this man has been the most consistent so far. His name is Juri Kocijan. He's a Slovenian riding for the American Smart Stop team. Second place today, second place yesterday, and he finds himself leading the Larry H. Miller Tour Utah.
And frankly, a surprise, right?
A little bit of a surprise. I mean, I picked him both yesterday and today as a potential winner. And what happened was, second both days, he got those time bonuses, so he's the most consistent. He rides into yellow. This is a big moment for his team and his career. And I will tell you, this Smart Stop team has been punching way above their weight for the last couple of years. They won the Pro Nationals. They went 1-2. They've won a lot of big races this year. But here at Utah, this tops it all.
That's a happy young man as well, and young being the operative word. We've seen a couple of young riders, and it is a sport of young legs, especially when you come over a climb like today. The old veterans, they'll play you, they play themselves right into it with some smarts, but there's really no substitute, is there, for lack of miles on those legs?
Oh boy, every year you ride in the saddle, your body actually gets more and more efficient. The way the capillaries grow into your muscles so that you can get blood and get rid of waste products from your muscles more efficiently. So the older you are, the more efficient you get.
All right, so disproving my theory that the race goes to the young. Now there's a young man, but he's young at 27 years of age, and that is our winner today, Michael Scher, the 2013 Swiss time trial champion.
Well, you know, I'm not disproving your theory, because a lot of the young guys have more punch and they have more muscle mass, and as you get older you start to lose the punch and the muscle mass, but you have smarts and efficiency to make up for it.
You know, I'm just comparing smiles. That one to the one when he crossed the finish line. Well, and I'm not sure which one he enjoyed the most, frankly.
You know what? I think that the first one, even though he could barely smile, was a huge relief, but a massive accomplishment. And he was so empty. Okay, remember, he's 6'5".
Yeah,
does he even have room to stand on the top step of the podium?
Redesign the canopy so that he can stand on it. That was a real quick trip to the top rung there for him.
Great ride by Michael Scher, and really that entire group of 6 riders that we had at the beginning. He was with Roscoff, also Jens Vogt, Ben Day, Lapthorn, and Rincon. A real powerhouse move that stuck all the way to the line by only 2 seconds, just one of the 6.
All right, proving 6'5" could make it, but I'm not sure about 6'6" or 6'7". But he did make it with the cap on, and he stands atop the podium. And now our second place finisher from Smart Stop.
Yep, Juri Kocijan back here for his second place on the day, which actually is what put him into first place overall, because he got that 6-second time bonus for second place.
You know, we talked about off the air the difference between the yellow jersey for Scher and for Kocijan, and those cramps probably cost Michael Scher the yellow jersey today, a 2-second differential.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, he coasted a big part of the top of that descent off of Boulder Mountain, and he just, when the legs are cramping up, it's the contraction of the muscles is multiple times harder than you can do it if you actually are trying to do it yourself. It's this big knot that really hurts.
And the Jelly Belly team represented on the podium today with Sergei Vipkov.
Yeah, that's one of the other guys who climbs well and sprints well, and that's why we've been thinking he's had a chance each of these first 2 days. He won the Cascade Classic in Bend, Oregon earlier this year. Good all-rounder. And let me tell you what, this is an all-star podium. The only thing I'm disappointed in is I don't get to see an American up there this time.
We'll take the break. Our coverage of the 2014 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah continues right after this. The 2014 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah has been brought to you by University of Utah Healthcare. Your choice, our experts. LHMauto.com. Click it, get it, drive it. Larry H. Miller dealerships driven by you. The Utah Sports Commission. Utah, the state of sport. And by the Utah Office of Tourism. Life elevated. So as we look at Tour of Utah and the finish now of Stage 2, let's take you back and show you how they got here. It was the breakaway, the 2 men. You've got Scher on the front, and then Joey Roscoff, the American, for Hincapie. Eventually, he would get dropped, and it will be Michael Scher all alone as he went up the summit of Boulder Mountain. Roscoff got dropped, but he would not go away. What he couldn't know is that Michael Scher was suffering through cramps. It may have changed the way he attacked at certain points in the race, but as they went over King of the Mountain, it was Scher with a look back who saw Roscoff in his dust, and then Roscoff absorbed by the peloton in the last mile and a half of this race. The only question then was, could Scher with the bad legs hang on and finish the stage in Torrey ahead of the pack? As they made the left turn coming into Torrey, he still had to come about 800 or 900 meters up the street, and he looks back to see the group closing on him. At 500 meters, this was still in doubt. The cramps seemingly forgotten in the rush of adrenaline, and Michael Scher crosses the finish line. The 27-year-old Swiss taking the Tour of Utah's second stage. That was the thrill of victory. This was the agony of the legs.
Oh man, those legs must have felt so incredibly bad. He doesn't get to win road races very often, winning last year the national championship in Switzerland on the road, and now taking stage number 2.
A look at the Larry H. Miller Dealerships leaderboard, LarryHMillerAuto.com. Click it, get it, drive it. Larry H. Miller Dealerships, driven by you.
And once again, Yuri Kochon in second, Svetkov in third, Reinen in fourth, and Skujins in fifth place. The Latvian, only one American in the top 5 today. But notice all the same time, when you're in a bunch in bike racing, everybody that finishes together gets the same time. So 5 hours and 3 minutes for the winner, and 2 seconds behind, that entire group gets the same time.
Scher on the top, though, for the day, stage 2. And what a stage it was. It did not finish the way we anticipated before the start. We thought perhaps it would be a limited field sprint coming down into Torrey together. It almost turned into that if the peloton had been able to make a move about 30 or 40 seconds earlier. Nevertheless, Scher was the man who held on for the win, and that sets the overall and a change in the yellow jersey.
Certainly does, as he's been twice each of the last 2 days. Yuri Kochon is now the leader. Michael Scher, the winner today, by 2 seconds on the stage, finds himself 2 seconds short of taking over the yellow jersey. Svetkov at 8 seconds, Reinen at 12, and Cadel Evans, the winner of the 2011 Tour de France, sitting in 5th. Wilco Kelderman at 17, Horner at 18, Danielson at 20, Basso at 20, and the American Boucher at 21. These are the heavy hitters, folks, and there's Drill trying to make their mark later in the race.
And the fan favorite jersey, by the way, a few moments ago, Jens Vogt. Could it go to anybody else? The German who is kind of riding the farewell tour. He rode in his 17th Tour de France just a couple of weeks ago. A fan favorite, not only because of his great personality, but also the way he rides. He leaves nothing when he gets across the finish line. Everything he has is out there. And speaking of Jens Vogt, let's visit him up close and personal. This is just a man who you gotta love the more you know him.
Jens, one more time, what do you say to your legs?
Shut up, legs.
Oh, I hate that.
Do we have more cookies?
Type of food, I guess, everything unhealthy.
Okay, then I take the cake first of all.
Just sit back, eat your cookies or cake and...
What, was it stupid?
that was good.
So the kids would grow up, see how fruits grow, and not that they think fruits they grow in a tin can in the supermarket, in the shelves.
My kids, they tell me, Dad, you cannot push this button. It works like that.
Like my favorite tactic is just to put everybody through a meat grinder.
It's better than last year. You see, last year I was at this time of the race, I was in hospital already.
This break looks good. The sun is shining, the mountain is green, the sky is blue, I go now.
Hang on, we have the stupid toilets in the background. I don't need that. There we go, you're awesome.
Thank you. There's other things in life than just pushing a certain number of watts in a funny colored jersey.
Well, that was the Stormtroopers last year. This was today, this year, and Jens Vogt, I think we just retire the fan favorite jersey for him. Now, the other jerseys are in doubt, Todd, throughout the remainder of this tour. But that jersey today was awarded. I think it's been retired. Jens Vogt is probably going to keep every fan jersey that is going to happen on this tour of Utah. So let's just give it to him now, get it over with.
Well, what I love about this, and this is really a new thing, is they have it up for vote. You can go to tourutah.com and you can vote every day on a fan favorite. So today was the perfect category for him. most loved veteran. Tomorrow, most inspiring comeback from adversity. Maybe it'll be Jens again, maybe not, but there's obviously no other most loved veteran than Jens Vogt.
What is the consistent part of every day? Vote.
There you go.
It's a no-brainer.
And vote often.
And vote often, right. All right, so we take you to break again. A change in yellow today after stage 2 of the Tour of Utah. A big smile and a new leader. Time to take a look at the postcard of the day, presented by the Utah Office of Tourism. Welcome to Utah, home to the Mighty 5 National Parks. Begin planning your next life-elevating adventure at visitutah.com. Just some of the vistas that are available here in the great state of Utah, and that's our postcard of the day. Boy, talk about the images today. Just spectacular from the helicopter and from the ground. It's a wonderful day, and it's just the second of 7, so it gets nothing but better and better and better throughout the week. Well, it's time to talk to the newest wearer of the yellow jersey, the Slovenian Juri Kocijan, who is with our Craig Hummer.
Juri, this is a sport where consistency does matter. 2 second places, and now you have one of the most coveted jerseys to show for it. Just talk about the day and how much this means.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a tough day today. I was very motivated before the stage. I knew if I'll pass the last climb, there won't be a lot of sprinters in the first group, and I'm not a pure sprinter, so I knew the climb like this, which is not very steep, that can suit to me if I feel good. So my Smart Stop teammates, they were awesome today. I was sometimes on the limit of the climb. They stayed with me and tried to help me. And on the final descent, I knew that we'll probably come to the sprint. We were close. BMC guy was just too strong at the end. We have just 2 teammates at the front. They were working so hard, and we got the yellow.
You got another GC win up in Canada about a month ago. It seems the Smart Stop team in 2014 is unstoppable. Just talk about how great it's been for you to transfer from a Pro Tour team this year to this Continental squad and do so well as a team.
Yeah, our season was amazing so far. My Creed, our sport director, he's incredible. He knows how to motivate the riders. I came 10 days before Tour of Utah. I came to his house in Colorado. He motor paced me every day, 3-4 hours. So he helped us a lot, and yeah, my story is kind of, I don't know how to say. I came from World Tour team. I got Lyme disease last year, and team failed, so I didn't found the team. In November, I sent my CV to all teams, to all UCI teams, and I got a response only from my Creed. He said he believed in me, so I'm still very thankful to him.
All right, well, enjoy this jersey, another sprint stage tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Big smile from the Slovenian and Smart Stop. Again, think about them. They've made a good name for themselves. As you said, they've kind of been overachievers. Now, tomorrow, a totally different look as we look at stage 3. Sprinters stage for the most part. 4,000 feet of climbing, which qualifies as flat here in the Tour of Utah. It's the inaugural Tour of Utah. The women's race will be coming out tomorrow, and of course winds up at Miller Motorsports Park, which is probably the finest road course in the country, and certainly one of the top 2 in the entire world. So this will be a different finish where they'll be going around turns for a road course designed for automobiles. If it's a sprint at the end tomorrow, it could be very interesting.
It could be very interesting, and it's still a pretty long day, about 118 miles. But the biggest climb is in the first third of the race, so we really do expect a large group. We could have over 100 riders come onto the Miller Motorsports Park together and contesting that big bunch finish.
Well, could be interesting to see, to say the least, and it is a totally different look as far as the stage is concerned. But we're only 2 in, and we've got 7 total for this week for the 2014 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah. We hope you enjoyed our coverage today. Be sure and stick around tomorrow because it is going to be a whale of a finish. We're looking for some of the big names to come through. The question is, when will they make their presence known?
Stage 4.
Stage 4, that's your guess?
Yeah.
Powder Mountain?
They'll be on. They got to be there on Powder Mountain, or else they're not here to play.
Their tour is over, no question about it. Well, for Craig Hummer and Todd Gogolski, I'm Steve Brown. That wraps up stage 2 of the 2014 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah from Torrey. The winner, Michael Scher. Tomorrow, Stage 3 coverage begins right here on FSN at 4 Eastern. The riders go from Lehigh to Miller Motorsports Park in Tooele. This event has been a presentation of Utah Cycling Partnership, Inc. And we'll see you tomorrow. Until then, good night, everybody.